I begin in the name of the God whose mercy is profound, whose kindness is forever. Are all Muslims destined for the paradise? That's the question that I'm going to talk about in this particular presentation. I have already discussed the fact that the life hereafter is an understanding, a belief which has to be affirmed if one is aware of this life of ours that we are leading. There is no way that we can justify this life or justify belief in God without acknowledging life hereafter. However, after having discussed the arguments confirming the life hereafter as they have been presented in the Quran, I raised a few questions that still remain despite the Quranic presentation, impressive Quranic presentation about the life hereafter. Those questions were: is it true that all non-Muslims are destined to the hell, or destined to be doomed as many Muslims claim? Is it true that all Muslims are going to succeed as many Muslims claim? Is it that what has been described in the Quran to paint a picture of the life hereafter, the paradise and the hell, is it exactly what the hell and the paradise are going to look like? Because that doesn't make a lot of sense to many people. Why is it that God decides who is going to get guided and who is going to get misguided? If He decides, then is it not unfair? Then the punishment in the next life seems to be unfair. It's too long, and if it is eternal, then it's not even imaginable. How could it be acceptable? And the question that Satan has been unleashed by the Almighty for him to take us away from the right path towards the wrong path. So why has it been done if the life hereafter is the real life of success and failure? I've discussed 5 of these 6 questions already. Now I'm left with this question, which in my list was the second, but I've left it for discussion towards the last part of my presentation. Are all Muslims going to succeed? This is an understanding which many Muslims carry. They believe that now that they are Muslims, either by birth, which is the case with the majority of the Muslims, or by conversion, they have entered the correct religious system, which is going to ensure for them a life of success, of eternity. But what are the arguments? Well, there are essentially 2 arguments which Muslims present. One of them is the argument that they have recited the kalama, the statement that affirms that there is only one God and that Prophet Muhammad, God's mercy be on him, is the messenger of God, the prophet of God. It is said, so goes the claim, that whoever recites the kalama, whoever makes this statement, confirming it verbally, that this is true, he or she is bound to enter the paradise. The second claim is that the Prophet, may God's mercy be on him, is reported to have said that he is going to intercede for the Muslims, and his intercession is going to be accepted by the Almighty, and therefore whoever is a believer in the last prophet is assured of entry into the paradise, no matter how poorly the person might have performed in the worldly life, morally. So that's what the difficulty is, that these are two very strong religious claims on the basis of which there are many Muslims who feel comfortable that they are going to succeed in the life hereafter. Now let me take both of them one by one. As for the claim that the one who recites the kalama is a Muslim formally, is going to enter the paradise primarily on the basis of this verbal recitation, this formal confirmation. When we look at the Quran, which is the primary source of knowledge for Muslims, we find that the Quran has talked about the question of success or failure in the next life a number of times. In fact, it would not be an exaggeration to say that the Book of God, Quran, has come to let the humanity know what exactly is it that is expected from them if they were interested in succeeding in the next life. So, how could it be that the Quran would not make a clear statement which would enable an individual to feel that what is mentioned in the statements of the Prophet, may God's mercy be on him, is actually what the Quran is also saying? How could it be that the Quran is not giving a clear indication of success to Muslims like it's mentioned in Hadith? So, when we read the Quran, we find, for example, that there are a number of passages which are giving an understanding that the success or failure in the life hereafter is going to be based on pure merit. God is not going to entertain any other criterion except the criterion of merit. The one who has performed well, both intellectually and morally, is going to succeed. The one who believes and does good deeds. The one who is confirming what is true and has no biases, no prejudices, and is following practically what is right, is the one who is going to succeed in the next life, no matter what his religious background, family background, tribal background, etc. The Quran says, for example, in chapter Surah number 103, which is a brief surah of the Quran, almost every Muslim remembers it. It has 3 verses. The Almighty says, Wal Asr, time that has already passed, the time, the eras of the earlier messengers, is a testimony, is a proof of the fact, Innal insana lafi khusr, that these people are also destined for failure. That is, like the people who rejected the earlier messengers, were destined to punishment in this life and then the next life as well. Likewise, these people who are rejecting the message of the last messenger, may God's mercy be on him, they too are going to meet with the same fate. إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ, except for those people who believe and do good deeds. That is, the general principle regarding this nation is, who has received the message of God directly from the messenger of God, that they are going to be doomed. They will meet with failure. However, those who will not meet with that fate are going to be the ones who will believe in the beliefs that have been presented to them. They will do good deeds. They will be morally upright. وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ, and they would exhort each other towards what is good, what is desirable, وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ, and they are going to resort each other towards being patient, being steadfast. That is, the truth that they have adhered to, they will stick to it and be fully attached to it despite all the difficulties. There is another passage of the Quran in chapter 29, verses 2 and 3 that says, that some people at the time of the revelation of the Quran had a feeling that they're going to succeed simply because they have entered the fold of Islam, and that thereafter there is going to be no trial, no test that they will be called upon to go through. The Quran says, it's chapter 29, verses 2 and 3, Ahasiban nas, do these people think, an yutraku, that they're going to be spared, an yaqulu amanna, merely on saying that they believe, that we believe, fahum la yuftanun, and they are not going to be tested. وَلَقَدْ فَتَنَّ الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِهِمْ, most certainly we tested those who came before them. فَلَيَعْلَمَنَّ اللَّهُ الَّذِينَ صَدَقُوا, so God is going to make sure that He distinguishes those people who are truthful. وَلَيَعْلَمَنَّ الْكَاذِبِينَ, and He is going to make sure that He distinguishes and sets aside those others who are liars, who have lied that they believe. Now, the same statement has been repeated in verse 11 in slightly different words. The Almighty says, فَلَيَعْلَمَنَّ اللَّهُ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا, so God is most certainly going to ascertain as to who are the people who are believers, true believers. وَلَيَعْلَمَنَّ الْمُنَافِقِينَ, and He would most certainly ascertain as to who are the people who are hypocrites. In other words, the Quran is absolutely clear that if a person claims to believe and says that he is a Muslim, he is bound to be tested by the Almighty through the different phases of life that he will go through the various temptations, various difficulties that he will face, and then respond in accordance with the faith that he has claimed that he believes in. So either his performance in the practical life is going to show that he is a true believer, or it's going to show that his claim to believe is a false claim. So the Quran is very clear about it. However, what we find is that there are a number of ahadith, narratives, which are presented by people, and those narratives are shown to mean something different. The fact of the matter is that when we put together all those narratives that we find in authentic books of ahadith, they are all saying one thing, and that is that the Almighty is going to allow only those people to succeed who are truthful, who have belief clearly and firmly in their heart. They do commit mistakes, blunders, but then each time they do anything wrong, they repent. They come back to God. Prophet Muhammad, God's mercy be on him, has clarified, has given the good news to such believers that if they have belief in their heart firmly placed, then the distractions that cause them to drift away from the right path every now and then, those distractions are not going to cause them to be doomed, to be failure in the next life. So, if we put together all those narratives, we learn the fact that the statement attributed to him that says, whoever recites the kalama, whoever formally states that he is a believer in God and the Messenger, and this statement is firmly placed in his heart, such a person is going to enter the paradise, because such a person will not insist on doing things wrong each time he or she will do something wrong, because the kalama, the faith, the understanding of God, the Messenger and life hereafter would come to his rescue, and he will get back to the right path. The second argument that is presented is the claim that the Prophet, may God's mercy be on him, is going to intercede for believers. And when he will intercede for them, the Almighty is going to accept his intercession and they are going to be declared successful, eligible to enter the paradise, even though their own performance did not make them eligible. They were not deserving. The fact of the matter is that the Quran denies this claim. Quran mentions in a number of verses, the three prominent verses in Surah Al-Baqarah, the second chapter of the Quran, which say just about the same thing. For instance, verse 254 is addressing Muslims, believers, and telling them, Ya ayyuhallazina amanu, believers, anfiqu, spend your wealth, that is, spend it in the way of God. Mimma razaqnahum, from what we have given you in the form of sustenance. Min qabli an ya'tiya yawmun, before comes the day, la bay'un fihi, when there is going to be no trading allowed, wala khullatun, nor any friendship is going to help, wala shafa'a, nor any intercession. So the Quran negates the possibility of intercession coming to the rescue of anyone on the Day of Judgment. However, we do find that the Quran gives an indication that there might be some form of intercession on the Day of Judgment. And this statement comes in the very next verse, verse 255 of Surah Al-Baqarah, the famous verse of the throne, Ayatul Kursi, wherein the Almighty says, Man zallazi yashfa'u indahu illa bi'izni. Who can intercede for somebody before him, before God, except by his will, except by God's permission? Now, obviously the question arises as to what exactly is meant by the intercession that God Almighty is going to allow. Reading the various relevant verses of the Quran with deep reflection, one comes to the conclusion that on the Day of Judgment, it seems that there are going to be three broad categories of humans. Some humans would pass the test of life with flying colors. They will be declared successful. Others would be those unfortunate people who did not perform well in this worldly life, and they are going to be declared unsuccessful. However, there are going to be some others who will be on the margin, neither clearly succeeding nor clearly belonging to the category of those who have failed. Such people who will be on the margin will get the privilege, because the Almighty is kind, He is merciful, He is accommodating. They will get the privilege of succeeding despite some failings on the part of these individuals, despite not clearly passing the test of life. These people will get the privilege of succeeding in the next life through the agency of intercession. God will ask some of His outstanding performers in this worldly life to intercede for those people. And because God will have already decided that they too are going to succeed, but through intercession, the prophets and other great noble people will intercede for such people, and God is going to accept their intercession. This intercession in no way is going to cause those who failed to be declared as successful. It's going to only be applicable for those people who were on the margin. What we find in the books of Hadith is also a confirmation of this understanding that clearly emerges from the Quran. The Prophet, may God's mercy be on him, is reported to have said, for example, that on the Day of Judgment, the Almighty, after having decided that some people are going to be destined to the paradise and others for the hell, the Prophet is going to come to God asking him to allow a certain number of believers to be taken out of the hell. And the Almighty is going to allow it to happen. This is going to happen a second time as well. And the Prophet, may God's mercy be on him, will take out a good number of Muslims, believers, from the hell. And it's going to happen a third time as well. But the Prophet, may God's mercy be on him, tells us that when he will go for the fourth time to the Almighty to rescue those who will still remain in the hell, the Almighty would tell him clearly that there is no such possibility available anymore, because those who are in the hell are the ones whom, as the hadith says, the Quran will prevent them from coming out of the hell, because they had committed such huge crimes in the worldly life that the Quran declared that those who would commit such crimes will not be allowed to enter the paradise. They will remain in the hell forever. So what emerges from the description of the narratives that are attributed to the Prophet, may God's mercy be on him, is a picture which is very similar to what the Quran is saying. People are going to be given the opportunity to be the residents of the paradise because of their good performance in the worldly life. There are people who would be destined to the hell because of their poor performance. And some people will get an opportunity to be rescued from the hell after having residing there for a certain while. And this would happen through the intercession done by the Prophet, may God's mercy be on him. So all in all, what seems to be emerging from a deeper understanding of the Quran and Hadith literature is that whatever is going to happen on the Day of Judgment and subsequently is going to be based on the Almighty's attribute of justice and his attributes of mercy, wisdom. And no principle is going to be violated while the all-important decision of who is going to end up living where is concerned. So, the Day of Judgment is going to be a day of accountability, a day of justice, and everyone is going to be treated on the basis of pure merit.